So, I want to talk to you about what I believe is the secret to success. Because you hear it often, right? What's the secret to success? What's the secret to success? And I think it very simply comes down to this: the aggregation of marginal gains, or how we call it internally, is the basics to a gold standard consistently. And I don't think there's a story that better summarizes it than this guy. So, this guy is Sir Dave Brailsford. And if you're not familiar, I'll give you a bit of context, and we'll go back to 2003. And in 2003, British cycling was in a terrible, terrible spot. Won one gold medal in history, no Tour de France wins, a very much an embarrassment to the sport. They hired this guy as performance director, and they went on to be one of the most successful sports teams of all time. Now, for context on this, they won 60% of all available medals in the 2008 Olympics and the 2012 Olympics. They set multiple world records. And then they went on to win the Tour de France, the most prestigious bike race in the world, 5 times in 7 years. And so Dave Brailsford put it down to this: the aggregation of marginal gains, or the theory of marginal gains, as he called it. And essentially, this is obsession on small incremental areas. So prime example from British cycling was little details, right? Like the trucks where they repaired bikes, paint the floor pristine white, because if a speck of dust gets on the floor and that gets on the bike, then it could have just that little difference on the hour, every hour, or whatever it may be. It could be the difference between winning or losing. Now, on its own, that feels like a ridiculous idea. And you can imagine when they're trying to get signed off for the budget or the people painting the floor, it feels like this is a lot of effort, wasted energy, etc. to do this. How much of a difference is it going to make? But when you take that and you take hundreds of other small little focuses on the small little details, it starts to compound. And that's where we see this 1% improvement that makes a big difference over a period of time. Now, as a private practice leader, this is what I'd be imploring you to consider. And this isn't just a campaign, an idea for today. This is a mantra and belief system that you and everybody in your organization needs to have. And from a marketing perspective, like, this is SEO. Like, this is not, let's manipulate the system and find a trick to trick Google overnight, because let me tell you, they're a lot smarter than that. And if you think a little trick is going to beat the Goliath that is Google, especially with AI mode now, where the tricks are very, very challenging and the right winning practice is actually going to win, which is nice to see. But like, this is the game, like marginal gains. Or from a social media perspective, well, what's the strategy on social media? Well, let's focus on what are those small 1% improvements. And on the left hand side here, you can see a 28-day period last year to a 28-day period this year. And this is an exchange of posting less content on Facebook. Or this is something we've just rolled out for many of our members, where a web form completion now comes into place, rather than it just coming through to you and saying, Stephen called, here's his phone number, calling back. We use a little bit of AI and data insight to go, okay, what has Stephen's behavior on the website been? And then as a result, we have this data insight that gives you context, give your front desk context of who Stephen is, how many times he's visited the website, what he looked at, what he's paid special attention to. It's a little scary, right? But it ensures that your team have more context to have a better discussion and understand preference, importance, etc. that the patient was considering. But this is what I'd encourage you to keep top of mind. Like, what are all these little 1% areas? What is the experience when patient parks up? What's the walk from where they park up through to coming through your door? What does the door look like? What does the waiting room look like? Are they being greeted properly when they come through the door? What's the cookies, coffee that's available? What magazines are in the waiting room? Is it a magazine that was from 2018 that looks like it's been messed around with and all the corners have gone curly? What's the walk from the waiting room through to the consult room? Like, what does that corridor look like? What have you got on the walls? Like, all these little things, 1% improvement. But if you have your team believe in this and it becomes part of who you are as an organization, then you're going to see those 1% gains that make a big difference over time. It's not an overnight formula, but this is for practices that want to play the long haul game. And given that you're watching this video, it's probably that you're planning in decades rather than weeks. So this is the approach that I'd be looking at, or basics to a gold standard consistently is what I would label it as. But hopefully that's helpful. I appreciate your eyes, and I'll speak to you again in another video very soon.